The next day it had stopped raining, but a thick white fog had lowered over the house. "I'm going for a walk," said Coraline. "Don't go too far," said her mother, and dressed up warmly. Coraline put on her blue coat with a hood, her red scarf, and her yellow Wellington boots. She ran out. Miss Pink was walking her dogs. "Hello, Caroline," said Miss Pink. "Rotten weather." "Yes," said Coraline. "I played Portia once," said Miss Pink. "Miss Forcible talks about her Ophelia, but it was my Portia they came to see, where we trod the boards." Miss Pink was bundled up in pullovers and cardigans, so she seemed more small and circular than ever. She looked like a large fluffy egg. She wore thick glasses that made her eyes seem huge. "They used to send flowers in my dressing room." "They did," she said. "Who did?" said Coraline. Miss Pink looked around cautiously, looking over first one shoulder and then over the other, peering into the mist as though someone might be listening. "Man," she whispered. Then she tucked the dogs to heel and waddled off back toward the house. Coraline continued her walk. She was 3/4 of the way around the house when she saw Miss Forcible standing at the door to the flash she shared with Miss Pink. "Have you seen Miss Pink, Caroline?" Coraline told her that she had, and that Miss Pink was out walking the dogs. "I do hope she doesn't get lost. It will bring on her shingles if she does, you'll see," said Miss Forcible. "You'd have to be an explorer to find your way around in this fog." "I'm an explorer," said Coraline. "Of course you are, lovey," said Miss Forcible. "Don't get lost now." Coraline continued walking through the gardens in the grey mist. She always kept inside of the house. After about 10 minutes of the walking, she found herself back where she had started. The hair over her eyes was limp and wet, and her face felt dead. "Ahoy, Coraline! Ahoy, Caroline!" called the crazy old man upstairs. "Oh, hello," said Coraline. She could hardly see the old man through the mist. He walked down the steps on the outside of the house. The lad passed Caroline's front door to the door of this flat. He walked around very slowly, while Caroline waited at the bottom of the stairs. "The mice do not like the mist," he told her. "It makes their whiskers droop." "I don't like the mist much either," admitted Coraline. The old man was leaning down so close that the bottom of his mustache tickled Caroline's ear. "The mice have a message for you," he whispered. Coraline didn't know what to say. "The message is this. Don't go to the door." He paused. "Does that mean anything to you?" "No," said Coraline. The old man shrugged. "They're funny, the mice. They get things wrong. They got your name wrong, you know. They kept saying Coraline, not Caroline. Not Caroline at all." He picked up a milk bottle from the bottom of the stairs and started back off to his attic flat. Coraline went indoors. Her mother was working in her study. Her mother's study smelled of flowers. "What should I do?" said Coraline. "When do you go back to school?" asked her mother. "Next week," said Coraline. Said her mother. "I suppose I shall have to get you new school clothes. Remind me, dear, or else I'll forget." And she went back to typing things on the computer screen. "What shall I do?" repeated Coraline. "Draw something." Her mother passed her a sheet of paper and a ballpoint pen. Coraline tried drawing the mist. After 10 minutes of drawing, she still had a white sheet of paper, MIST, written on it in one corner in slightly wiggly letters. She grunted and passed it to her mother. Very modern, dear," said Caroline's mother. Caroline crept into the drawing room and tried to open the door in the corner. It was locked once more. She supposed her mother must have locked it again. She shrugged. Caroline went to see her father. He had his back to the door as typed. "Go away," he said cheerfully as she walked in. "I'm bored," she said. "Learn how to tap dance," he just suggested without turning around. Caroline shook her head. "Why don't you play with me?" she asked. "Busy," he said. "Working," he added. He still hadn't turned around to look at her. "Why don't you go and bother Miss Pink and Miss Forcible?" Caroline put on her coat and pulled on her hood and went out of the house. She went downstairs. She rang the door of the Miss Pink and Miss Forcible's flat. Coraline could hear our friends woofing as a Scotty ducks ran out into the hall. After a while, Miss Pink opened the door. "Oh, it's you, Caroline," he said. "Angus, Hamish, Bruce. Down now, lovies. It's only Caroline. Come in, dear. Would you like a cup of tea?" The flat smelled of furniture, polish, and dogs. "Yes, please," said Coraline. Miss Pink led her into a dusty little room, which she called a parlor. On the walls were black and white photographs of pretty women and theater programs in frames. Miss Forcible was sitting in one of the armchairs, knitting hard. They poured Coraline a cup of tea in a little pink-bone china cup with a saucer. They gave her a dry Garibaldi biscuit to go with it. Miss Forcible looked at Miss Pink pickle up her knitting and she took a deep breath. Anyway, April, as I was saying, you still have to admit there's life in the old dog yet. Miriam, dear, neither of us is as young as we are. Madam Arcady, replied Miss Forcible. The nurse is Romeo, Lady Birkenau. Characters parts. They can retire you from the stage. No, Miriam, you agreed, said Miss Pink. Coraline wondered if they had forgotten she was there. They weren't making much sense. She decided they were having an argument, as old and comfortable as an armchair. The kind of argument that no one ever really wins or lost, but which can go on forever, if both parties are willing. She sipped her tea. I'll read the leaves if you I will leave the leaves if you want, said Miss Pink to Coraline. Sorry, said Coraline. The tea leaves, dear. I will read your future. Coraline passed Miss Pink her cup. Miss Pink peered short-sightedly as a black tea leaves in the bottom. She pursed her lips. You now, Coraline, she said after a while. You are in terrible danger. Miss Forcible snorted and put down her knitting. Don't be silly, April. Stop scaring the girl. Your eyes are going. Pass me that cup, child. Coraline carried the cup over to Miss Forcible. Miss Forcible looked into it carefully, shook her head, and looked into it again. Oh dear, she said. You're right, April. She's in danger. See, Miriam, said Miss Pink triumphantly. My eyes are as good as they were, even worse. What am I in danger from? Asked Coraline. Mrs. Pink and Miss Forcible stared at her blankly. It didn't say, said Miss Pink. Tea leaves are unreliable for that kind of thing. Not really. They're good for general, but not for specifics. What should I do then? Asked Coraline, who was slightly alarmed by this. Don't wear green in your dressing room, suggested Miss Pink. Or mention the Scottish play, added Miss Forcible. Coraline wondered why so few of the dolls she had made any sense. She sometimes wondered who they thought they were talking to. I'm very, very careful, said Miss Pink. She got up from the armchair and went over to the fireplace. On the mantelpiece was a small jar, and Miss Pink took off the top of the jar and began to pull things out of it. There was a tiny china dog, a thimble, a strange little brass coin, 2 paper clips, and a stone with a hole in it. She passed Coraline the stone with a hole in it. What's it for? Asked Coraline. The hole went all the way through the middle of the stone. She held it up to the window and looked through it. In my house, said Miss Pink, they're good for bad things sometimes. Coraline put on her clothes, said goodbye to Mrs. Pink and Forcible and to the dogs, and went outside. The mist hung like blindness around the house. She walked slowly to the stairs toward family's flat, and then stopped and looked around. In the mist, it was a ghost word. In danger, thought Coraline to herself. It sounded exciting. It didn't sound like a bad thing. No, really. Coraline went back upstairs. Her fist closed slightly around her new stone. Chapter 3. The next day, the sun shone, and Coraline's mother took her into the nearest large town to buy clothes for school. They dropped her father off the railway station. He was going to London for a day to see some people. Coraline waved him goodbye. They went to the department store to buy the school clothes. Coraline saw some day-glow green gloves she liked a lot. Her mother refused to buy them for her, preferring instead to buy white socks, navy blue school underpants, 4 gray blouses, and a dark gray skirt. But Mom, everybody at school's got gray blouses and everything. Nobody's got green gloves. I could be the only one. Her mother ignored her. She was talking to the shop assistant. They were talking about which kind of sweater to get for Coraline, and were agreeing that the best thing to do would be to get one that was embarrassingly large and baggy in the hopes that one day she might grow into it. Coraline wandered and looked at the display of the Wellington boots, shaped like frogs and ducks and rabbits. Then she wandered back. Coraline, oh, there you are. Where on earth were you? I was kidnapped by aliens, said Coraline. They came down from outer space with ray guns, but I fooled them by wearing a wig and laughing in a foreign accent, and I escaped. Yes, you're now. I think you could do with some more hair clips, don't you? No? Well, let's say half a dozen to be on the safe side, said her mother. Coraline didn't say anything. In the car on the way back home, Coraline said, What's in the empty flat? I don't know, nothing. I expect it probably looks like our flat before we moved in, empty rooms. Do you think you could get into it from our flat? Not unless you can walk through bricks, dear. Oh, they got home around lunchtime. The sun was shining, although the day was cold. Coraline's mother looked in the fridge and found a sad little tomato and a piece of cheese with green stuffs growing on it. There was only a crust in the bread bin. "I better dash down to the shops and get some fish fingers or something," said her mother. "Do you want to come?" "No," said Coraline. "Suit yourself," said her mother, and laughed. Then she came back and got her purse and car keys and ran out again. Coraline was bored. She flipped through a book her mother was reading about native people in a distant country. Now, how every day they take pieces of white silk and draw on them in wax. Then dip the silks in dye. Then draw on them more in the wax and dry them some more. Then boil the wax out in hot water. And finally throw the now beautiful clothes on the fire and burn them to ashes. It seemed particularly pointless to Coraline, but she hoped that the people enjoyed it. She was still bored, and her mother wasn't at home. Coraline got a chair and pushed it over to the kitchen door. She climbed out onto the chair and reached up. She got down, then got a broom from the broom's cupboard. She climbed back on her chair again and reached up with a broom. Chink. She climbed down from the chair and picked up the keys. She smiled triumphantly. Then she leaned the broom against the wall and went into the drawing room. The family did not use the drawing room. They had inherited the furniture from Coraline's grandmother, along with a wooden coffee table, a side table, a heavy glass ashtray, and the oil painting of the bowl of fruit. Coraline could never work out why anyone would want to paint a bowl of fruit. Other than that, the room was empty. There were no knickknacks on the mantelpiece, no statues or clocks. Nothing that made it feel uncomfortable lived in. The old black key felt colder than any of the others. She pushed it into the keyhole. It turned smoothly with a satisfying dunk. Coraline stopped and listened. She knew she was doing something wrong, and she was trying to listen for her mother coming back, but she heard nothing. Then Coraline put her hand on the doorknob and turned it, and finally she opened the door. It opened onto a dark hallway. The bricks had gone as if they had never been there. There was a cold, musty smell coming through the open doorway. It smelled like something very old and very slow. Coraline went to the door. She wondered that the empty flat would be like if there was where the corridor led. Coraline walked down the corridor uneasily. There was something very familiar about it. The carpet beneath her feet was the same carpet they had in the flat. The wallpaper was the same wallpaper they had. The picture hanging in the wall hall was the same that they had hanging in their hallway at home. She knew where she was. She was in her own home. She hadn't laughed. She shook her head, confused. She stared at the picture hanging on the wall. No, it wasn't exactly the same. The picture they had in their own hallway showed a boy in old-fashioned clothes staring at some bubbles. But now the expression on his face was different. He was looking at the bubbles as if he was planning to do something very nasty to them. And there was something particular about his eyes. Coraline stared at his eyes, trying to figure out what exactly was different. She almost had it when somebody said, "Coraline." It sounded like a mother. Coraline went into the kitchen where the boys had come from. A woman stood in the kitchen and with her back to Coraline. She looked a little like Coraline's mother, only her skin was white as paper. Only she was taller and thinner. Only her fingers were too long and they never stopped moving, and her dark red fingernails were carved and sharp. "Coraline," the woman said, "is that you?" And then she turned around. Her eyes were big black buttons. "Lunchtime, Coraline," said the woman. "Who are you?" said Coraline. "I'm your other mother," said the woman. "Go and tell your father that lunch is ready." She opened the door opened. Suddenly, Coraline realized how hungry she was. It smelled wonderful. "Well, go on." Coraline went down the hall to where her father's study was. She opened the door. There was a man in there sitting at the keyboard with his back to her. "Hello," said Coraline. She said to say the lunch is ready. The man turned around. His eyes were buttons, big and black and shiny. "Hello, Coraline," he said. "I'm starving." He got up and went with her into the kitchen. They sat at the kitchen table, and Coraline's other mother brought them lunch: a huge golden brown roasted chicken, fried potatoes, tiny green peas. Coraline shoveled the food into her mouth. It tasted wonderful. "We've been waiting for you for a long time," said Coraline's other father. "For me?" "Yes," said the other mother. "It wasn't the same here without you, but we knew you'd arrive one day, and now we could be a proper family. Would you like some more chicken?" It was the best chicken that Coraline had ever eaten. Her mother sometimes made chicken, but it was always out of the packets or frozen and was very dry. I had never tasted of anything. When Coraline's father cooked chicken, he brought real chicken, but it did strange things to it, like stewing it in wine or stuffing it with prunes or breaking it in pastry, and Coraline would always refuse to touch it on principle. She took some more chicken. I didn't know I had another mother, said Coraline cautiously. Of course you do. Everyone does, said the other mother, her black button's eyes gleaming. After lunch, I thought you might like to play in your room with the rats. The rats? From upstairs. Coraline had never seen a rat, except on television. She was quite looking forward to it. This was turning out to be a very interesting day, after all.